Chosen one, September 9th is not just another date on the calendar. It carries the weight of divine timing, a moment where the invisible threads of destiny come together in ways that will leave you in awe. You may have felt restless, uncertain, even stretched beyond your limits. But this moment in time marks a shift, a crossing into territory you once thought was unreachable. God's plan has been quietly unfolding in the background, arranging details, moving people, and setting the stage for your breakthrough. What is about to be revealed is not small, not ordinary, and not coincidental. It is designed to shock you, to awaken you, and to prove that you were never forgotten. September 9th holds the blueprint of change, a blueprint that has your name written on it, a pattern only heaven could weave. Before we go deeper into this, I want you to take part in something powerful. Watch this video until the end, because every word carries an energy meant to align you with this moment. And in the comments, share your warmest wishes. Release your purest desires and write the No 777. This number carries the vibration of completion, alignment, and divine perfection. By doing this, you are not only sealing your wish, but also energizing the universe, sending a signal of readiness. What you write will not just stay on a screen. It will echo into the unseen, multiplying and returning to you in ways you never imagined. Now understand this: September 9th is more than a date. It is a divine marker, a checkpoint in your journey, where everything you endured finally begins to make sense. For so long it may have felt like nothing was moving, like your prayers were trapped in the sky, like your effort was swallowed by silence. Yet all of it was preparation. The plan was never denied, only delayed until the moment would be powerful, enough to make an undeniable impact. This is that moment. You are standing at the edge of a revelation that will remind you that you were chosen, not for comfort but for destiny. The shock will come not from the difficulty, but from the speed and magnitude of the blessing that is about to arrive. You must realize that divine plans are never linear. They twist, they turn. They break what you thought was secure, only to rebuild something stronger. You have walked through seasons where you were misunderstood, where people left, where opportunities closed, and where your own strength seemed to betray you. But nothing was wasted. Every loss, every rejection, every lonely night was carefully positioned to push you closer to the September 9th revelation. What you thought was the end was simply the rerouting. What you thought was failure was an unseen redirection. And now the fruits of those hidden movements are about to be unveiled on this date. Something within you will stir. It may not come in the way you expect, but you will feel it like a current running through your spirit, a sudden realization, a divine opportunity, an unexpected encounter. Something will shift that cannot be explained away as coincidence. This is not random luck. This is not chance. This is the orchestration of a plan that has been waiting for your alignment. And when it happens, you will know in your heart. This is the shock of God's plan chose. In one, your life has been preparing you for this. The struggles you carried, the storms you survived, the pain that tried to break you, all of it was training for the strength you now carry. September 9th is the moment when that strength meets its purpose. The fire you walked through forged you into someone who can hold the blessing. Without crumbling, you were refined, so that the weight of glory would not destroy you. Do not doubt the timing. Do not fear the unknown. Trust that the same hand that led you through the valley is the hand that now pulls back the curtain to reveal the stage of destiny. This is why God's plan will shock you. It is bigger than your imagination, broader than your vision and deeper than your prayers. You thought you were asking for one door, but God has prepared a hallway. You thought you were praying for survival, but God is preparing abundance. You thought you were forgotten, but heaven was only arranging your grand entrance. September 9th is the day that the pieces come together, and you step into the undeniable truth. You were chosen for this exact moment. Chosen one. Have you ever noticed how the greatest shifts in life come quietly, at first like a whisper before they crash like thunder? September 9th carries this rhythm. The world may see it as another ordinary day, but for you it holds a vibration that separates the old chapter from the new one. There are unseen movements happening right now. Currents of energy shifting in your favor. Doors swinging open in realms you cannot see with your natural eyes. This is why you must remain attentive, because what is approaching you does not wear a warning label. It does not announce itself with trumpets. It arrives suddenly, transforming everything you thought was fixed. This shock that awaits you is not meant to frighten you, but to awaken you. Too often you have been lulled into thinking small, into expecting little, into preparing for disappointment. But September 9th is different. It is a correction, a divine recalibration, pulling your vision out of the shadows of limitation and into the full light of destiny. God's plan will not fit inside the container of your old expectations. What is coming will overflow. It will stretch, it will demand more room in your spirit, because it is bigger than what you planned for yourself. Understand this clearly. Your path was never about survival alone. The delays, the setbacks, the confusion, they were not designed to destroy you, but to make you unshakable when the true moment arrived. Think back to the times when everything seemed uncertain, when you questioned whether you even had the strength to continue. Those moments were rehearsals, shaping your inner foundation. Without realizing it, you were being sculpted, refined, molded into someone who could step into a divine plan without breaking under its pressure. September 9th is when you begin to see why the struggle had to last as long as it did. The shock is not only in the blessing, it is in the realization that you were prepared all along. What is about to happen will not only affect you, but ripple into the lives of others connected to you. When a chosen one rises, the impact spreads like fire. Your breakthrough is not just personal. It is generational. You carry keys that unlock doors for those who walk beside you and those who come after you. On this date, expect the unexpected. A conversation, a decision, a sudden opportunity. One moment can rewrite the direction of your life. And when it happens, it will carry the weight of undeniable truth. This was not random, this was written. There is a reason why this moment is charged with so much energy. The alignment of September 9th is not only about events in the physical, but also shifts in the spiritual. The old energy that held you back is breaking. The heaviness that slowed your steps is lifting, and clarity is about to replace confusion. For so long you have been walking through a fog, straining to see the road ahead. But in an instant the fog clears, and you realize the path was always there. That clarity is the shock of God's plan. It arrives suddenly, leaving you with no doubt that the wait was worth it. Do not underestimate what this shift means. The divine does not waste dates. It does not randomly assign meaning to moments. If you are hearing this message, it is because you are being prepared to witness it firsthand. The shock will come not only from what arrives, but from how swiftly it transforms you. The one who struggled yesterday is not the same one who steps forward tomorrow. The one who carried pain quietly is the same one who will soon carry light openly. This is the magnitude of what is unfolding you. You are about to step into a life that feels almost unrecognizable compared to where you have been. And here is the truth, chosen one. This is not the peak. September 9th is a beginning. Not an end, it is the spark that ignites a larger fire. The seed that grows into a greater harvest. The shock is only the first taste of what has been prepared for you. Once it begins, it will not stop. One shift will lead to another, one blessing will open the door to a bigger one, and one act of favor will set into motion a chain reaction that carries you into seasons of abundance you once only dreamed of. You may think you are ready, but the truth is this plan will exceed every outline you've drawn for yourself. That is the essence of the shock. It outgrows your vision and surpasses your prayers. So prepare yourself inwardly. Clear your heart of doubt. Release the weight of old fears and stand ready. September 9th is not about waiting passively, but about stepping into alignment with confidence. Walk with the certainty that you are not forgotten, that you are not overlooked, that your name has always been etched into the blueprint of destiny. The shock of God's plan is not meant to break you. It is meant to launch you. And when it does, you will look back at everything you endured and realize it was all leading here, to this very moment, chosen one. When divine timing arrives, it does not ask permission. It does not knock politely at your door. It enters suddenly, rearranging the atmosphere of your life. September 9th is one of those moments. The shock that is coming will not be subtle. It will not hide in the background. It will be clear, undeniable, and deeply personal. You may find yourself saying, "How could this happen so quickly? How could everything change overnight?" But that is the signature of God's plan. It arrives in ways the human mind cannot fully prepare. For 4 years, you may have been carrying a vision that felt too heavy, a dream that seemed too far, or a promise that looked impossible to reach. Yet you never truly let it go. Deep inside, you knew there was something more. Something your spirit kept reminding you of even when your circumstances disagreed. September 9th is when that inner knowing collides with outer reality. The invisible becomes visible. What was hidden becomes revealed. And what once looked like a faint hope suddenly manifests as undeniable truth. The shock will not only be in what happens, but in how it transforms your understanding of yourself. You will realize you were never small, never forgotten, never powerless. You were being prepared for a moment of recognition, a moment when all of heaven's orchestration becomes clear. This is why the struggle was so intense. The greater the plan, the greater the pressure before it arrives. The opposition you faced was not a sign of weakness, but of significance. The more resistance you encountered, the greater the evidence that something monumental was waiting for you. You may have noticed how certain connections in your life began to fade, how people who once stood with you suddenly distanced themselves. At first it may have felt painful, confused, even unfair, but understand this. Not everyone was meant to witness this chapter. Some had to leave so that your vision would remain pure, undiluted, and uncorrupted. God's plan was too great to risk being handled by those not ready for its weight. September 9th reveals not only what is meant for you, but also why some things and people could not remain. The shock will clarify who is truly aligned with your path. All along, this date marks a pivot, a turning of the page in the story of your destiny. From this moment forward, the narrative changes. The delays that once frustrated you will lose their grip. The confusion that clouded your decisions will dissolve. And the opportunities that seemed out of reach will now be within your grasp. Imagine walking into a room where the lights have been off for years, and suddenly the switch is flipped. That instant of clarity, that flood of light. That is what September 9th represents for you. But here is the deeper truth. This shock is not just for your benefit. It is a signal, a testimony, a ripple that will awaken others around you. People will look at your transformation and be forced to admit that something greater is at work in your life. They will wonder how it happened, how you went from overlooked to undeniable, how you went from struggling to rising. The truth is, the shock is not only in what you receive, but in how others perceive the shift in you. They will not be able to deny that you were chosen. Chosen one, prepare yourself for acceleration. What would normally take years will unfold in days. What seemed impossible will align effortlessly. The flow of divine order is about to speed up, carrying you further than your own strength ever could. This is not about striving, but about receiving. It is. It's about being in the right place at the right time. And September 9th is that alignment point. Do not underestimate the momentum that follows. One event will spark another. One door will open to a hallway of opportunities. And one act of favor will set in. Ocean, a chain reaction that reshapes your entire path. And though this shock may feel overwhelming, remember this: you were designed for it. You were shaped in the fire so that you could stand in the light without crumbling. You were stretched in the waiting so that when the expansion came, you would not tear under its weight. Everything in your past prepared you for this acceleration. September 9th is not the beginning of your journey, but it is the beginning of the unveiling. It is the moment when what has been hidden behind the curtain of time is revealed in front of the world. So step into this date with open eyes, open heart, and steady faith. The plan is unfolding, the shift is happening. The shock is coming, and it will remind you that you are not just living through time, you are living through destiny. September 9th is the proof that you are aligned with something greater than yourself. And once it begins, there is no turning back. Chosen one. When the divine chooses a day, it is not without purpose. September 9th is not an accident. It is not a date that has stumbled into your life by chance. It is a marker, a signpost in time carved out by the unseen hand that has been guiding your steps since the beginning. You may not have recognized it, but every event, every delay, every heartbreak, and every small victory has been gently steering you toward this alignment. That is why the shock of God's plan will feel both sudden and strangely familiar. It is the moment your soul recognizes what it has been sensing all along. Think about how many times you almost gave up. How many times you wondered if your effort was even worth it, if your faith had meaning, if your resilience mattered, and yet something inside you would not let go. That fire, however dim it seemed, refused to die out. It carried you through the waiting, through the uncertainty, through the nights when your spirit felt empty. That fire was no ordinary persistence. It was the evidence that something was waiting for you on the other side. September 9th is when that persistence meets its reward. This date is charged with destiny because it represents the breaking of cycles. For too long, you may have felt caught in a loop, living the same struggles, carrying the same burdens, watching the same doors remain closed. But cycles were never meant to define you. They were meant to refine you. And the shock of what is coming is that the cycle breaks not slowly but suddenly. What felt like an endless repetition will stop, and in its place a new flow will begin. You will step out of the circle and onto a path. The difference will be unmistakable. And yet the shock does not come simply to impress you. It comes to reveal truth, to remind you that you were never moving, without direction the times you thought you were lost. You were being led the seasons where nothing made sense. Clarity was being prepared. The people who left were making space for those who truly belong. Every no was pushing you closer to the one yes that will matter more than all of them combined. On September 9th, that yes begins to echo. Understand also that the shock of this plan will not just touch your outer circumstances. It will move deeply within you. A shift in identity is about to occur. You will no longer see yourself as the one barely surviving, barely holding on, barely making it through. You will begin to recognize the strength, wisdom, and resilience that was formed within you. You will start to walk differently, speak differently, and carry yourself with a quiet authority of someone who knows they are aligned with destiny. This is the deeper transformation, the one that cannot be undone. Do not be surprised if, as this date approaches, you feel unusual energy within you. It may feel like restlessness, like anticipation, like all you cannot explain. This is not anxiety. It is alignment. It is your spirit sensing the shift before your eyes can see it. Trust that sensation. Do not run from it. Let it remind you that something larger than life is preparing to step into view. September 9th is the day the invisible meets the visible. The unseen becomes undeniable. And here is what you must hold on to. God's plan will shock you, not because you underestimated Him, but because you underestimated yourself. You saw your flaws, your failures, your brokenness, and assumed that they disqualified you. But in truth, those very scars are what qualified you. They gave you empathy, depth, strength, and the ability to carry the weight of what is now arriving. The shock is realizing that you are, and always have been, the perfect vessel for this moment. So step forward with courage. Do not shrink back. The time for hiding is over. The time for silence is ending. September 9th is a call, a signal, a turning of the page, and when it arrives, it will not only change the atmosphere around you, it will change the atmosphere within you. The plan is already in motion. The moment is already set. And the shock that awaits you is not destruction, but elevation. It is the undeniable proof that you were chosen, prepared, and destined for such a time as this. Chosen one. There comes a moment when the waiting ends, when the silence breaks, when what was promised begins to unfold before your very eyes. September 9th is that moment. The shock that you are about to experience is not just about the arrival of something new, but about the suddenness of it. After years of planting, years of endurance, years of wondering if your effort mattered, the harvest comes all at once. It does not trickle in, it rushes, like a river released after being held back by a dam. The flood of change sweeps away the old and makes space for the new. For so long, you may have walked with questions heavy in your heart. Why did it take so long? Why did it hurt so much? Why did I have to lose so much before gaining anything? These questions have followed you like shadows, sometimes louder than your own hope. But September 9th is when the answers begin to form. not through explanations but through revelation. The shock will be in how quickly the pain loses its grip. Once purpose is revealed, every tear, every trial, every lonely step suddenly makes sense. When the plan begins to unfold, chosen one, walk into this day with anticipation, not fear. Let go of doubt. Release the weight of past disappointments and open your hands to receive. You are not approaching an ending. You are approaching a beginning. The stage is set, the curtain is rising, and the plan that once felt distant is stepping into your present. September 9th will not just shock you. It will elevate you, transform you, and propel you into the chapter you were always destined to live.